Okay, another funny story time. Okay, so I got a job doing some AppSec somewhere, like consulting, and the security team had high conflict with the developer team. And I'm like a social butterfly that's really friendly and stuff. And so we kept, I would send messages to the dev team, the messages would send back, etc. Right? And I was like trying to build this like healthy relationship with them. And they would come back with things where I was like, wow, these devs really know security like super well. But then I'd look at the apps and they were like, they needed some work. Let's just say they needed some work. But they would respond to my emails. Like, I'm like, wow, it's like they just know so much. I'm so impressed. And I don't generally tell people who my clients are because confidentiality, NDAs, and all that, right? And so then a few years later, well, actually, so eventually the devs told me like that they'd hired a security consultant and that was the person that was rating me, and I was like, okay, this makes sense because this person really knows what's up. um, and so then I was like meeting for coffee with a friend like a few years later, and him and I were talking, and he was like, yeah, I got hired by these devs. And then like, because the security team was like really brutal with them and like would argue with them constantly and treat them like they're stupid. And then they'd hired this consultant person, and then I was like writing stuff back and forth, etc. And he's like, I mean, like, at least the consultant on the security team seemed to see the light of day. And then I was like, oh, that's funny. I was in it. And then we're like, was that this year? Like, the specific, was that these months? And it turned out I've been like writing back and forth with my good friend. And so, like, a lot of things all made sense. I was like, wow, these devs are so amazing at security. And then I'd look at their code and I'd be like, are these the same devs? Like, yeah. But anyway, I just thought that was really funny. And when him and I figured it out, we both laughed so hard. Like, oh, it's just like, you were my pen pal and I didn't know. And it was like a few weeks of exchanges. I was like, gosh, they're so smart. And then they're like, okay, so actually it was a consultant. I'm like, oh. And so I don't even think my friend even got to know that I was on the other side until like we had this laugh because he's like, it's like, what if I say the name of the place? And yeah, so that was pretty funny to find out that I was writing my friend who I hang out with on a regular basis.